I'm getting wet a little bit. It's raining on me. Yay. And let's do this. Let's do it.
We are live.
Hi, everyone.
My name's Masha,
I'm Jordan.
and we're here to talk about something that's very controversial in our field.
Yeah, in our field, and I feel also in the world right now, in the human experience, like the rise of polyamory has been a thing for many years now, and it's becoming mainstream, and people who are in their solid monogamous containers have seen divorce normalized, and it seems to be the case where so many people are just questioning, like, what is the way as a society have we just completely like chosen to everyone just figure it out for themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to her point, like I have a couple of friends who are in committed relationships, have been with them for a significant amount of time. Some of them 12 years, some of them 8 years with two children or a baby. And they reach out to me and they're like, I don't know if I want to be with my husband anymore. And it's like so crazy to me because that's like my desire for my future to have like that committed monogamous relationship and a family.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's my desire too. And I hear that echoed with a lot of women, but I'm talking to mostly friends who they're not in that position where they're married and they have babies and all of that. So I hear echoed in my fields like I just want a divine masculine man who can create a safe, strong container. We can have a divine monogamous union. But thinking about it, I also have a lot of friends who have been in long marriages that they've decided to dissolve. And my conclusion from seeing all these different desires is that people really may be similar to me in that they come to this planet wanting to experience a wide range of experiences, experience all that this human life has to offer. And so if I have that mindset, I can see how I'm getting rained on right now.
Miami weather.
I can see how if someone's been in a strong, long, monogamous container for a while, it might be healing for them to try something else. And for me, I've never been in a long monogamous container that was actually safe for an extended amount of time. So my being is like, I want to try that. I want to experience that. I've gotten tastes of it, I've gotten glimpses of it, and I think it would be so healing. And I think that we can check in with ourselves and look for like what is actually going to be the most healing for us in any given moment, understanding that as we evolve as humans and as we gain more experiences, we gain more trauma as well, unfortunately, sometimes. And what is going to be healing for us may shift, but we can also take a lot of time to, in the process of getting to know ourselves and in the process of self development, think about what do I want long term? What are my long term goals? And if that includes a family, if that includes a certain type of relationship to foster a family, foster whatever type of family is most aligned for you, you know, there's options, there's room for creativity. Uh, Once we get clear on that, that informs our process, that informs how we go about things. So it's like we may keep coming back to ourselves, knowing that it is in most alignment to have this family and have this strong monogamous container, even though I'm having thoughts of wanting to try something new, wanting to try this polyamory thing. Um, And with that being said, knowing that desires shift, I think it's so important to have that practice of really knowing what feels most in alignment. And also, I would think that most people would really want to choose a partner that there's a lot of safety for the truth. It's like that is the most important thing is
Clear communication.
yeah, clear communication. And in addition to being very honest, choosing people and with your partner, maybe like developing a large somatic body so that someone can come to you with the truth and it doesn't knock you off kilter. They know that they can bring their desires to you and that there'll be room for you guys to figure it out together, for those to be acknowledged and for those to be maybe not acted upon, because if the highest priority is safety with the person you care about, maybe they won't be acted upon, but the desires will be able to be released in a safe container through communication.
What does it mean when you say large somatic body? What does that mean to you?
So when I say large somatic body, what I'm referring to is basically an enlarged ability to withstand and sort through difficult emotions. So if someone has a small somatic body, then I would say that that is someone who is very easily knocked off kilter, very easily irritated, and very easily overwhelmed. And when we are overwhelmed is when we switch into our survival mode or potentially our maladaptive patterns. So that could be the fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. Or another way to look at it is like the 5 personality patterns, which is like the leaver, the merger, the rock, the aggressive, and the rule follower. So if you practice being able to go through an experience and not let it completely overwhelm you, and there's so many techniques, so many ways to practice going through an experience and not becoming completely overwhelmed and not going into your pattern, and that's a whole different conversation. But continuously choosing to practice that can lead to you being able to withstand a lot more. So over time, you can, with your partner, create a safer container for them just by practicing bringing acceptance to the like overwhelming emotions that rise through your body instead of falling into a pattern or like acting unconsciously when you feel those intense emotions.
I would like to add to that, like, I know that could be a different conversation, but just because we're here, like, when you are feeling those emotions, if you're in a safe container doing something like breath work to allow you to feel the emotions and come back to the present moment. I noticed that I got to experience that at a group breath work where I felt like intense jealousy, intense, like all of the past rising up because I was watching someone who I was intimate with, eye gazing with someone else. And I could feel like all of these things resurfacing from the past and then come back to the breath. There was a collective breath, right? So I was like, so I was able to release all those emotions like through the breath. And then all of a sudden, through the pain, by practicing going deeper into the pain, I felt bliss like sensation. It was so powerful. Like that I got to experience this container, like in such a way.
Yeah, you are a transmuting being. Yeah, you can take any pain and just choose to shift it, especially if you have the right tools and you have the intention to shift out of it. That's beautiful. Yeah, someone was just telling me the other day of this meditation where you breathe in imaginary, like toxic black smoke, and then you breathe out love and light. Have you heard of this? And it's to help us feel the power of our alchemizing.
I heard like of a different one that I like
Okay.
to use actually because I don't want to be breathing in anything toxic black smoke.
Yeah, I don't either.
But if you're like feeling a dense emotion, then you can scan your body and see the darkness, like,
Right.
oh, this is tight. So it's kind of like dark, and you breathe in more light to diffuse the darkness.
I like that
Yeah.
better.
You don't want to be breathing toxic black smoke.
Yeah. But like, you know, the one I mentioned, it's like to really just get it into our mind that we can alchemize anything, like any pain, and which is not to be used as an excuse for actually taking in any toxins on purpose, but it's just like we are so powerful at any single point. We can choose to take what's in us and shift it, bring light to it. Like we are able to just completely like heal ourselves consciously, and any way that you can do that and then continue to remember to do that instead of getting stuck in the victimhood mindset of like I'm feeling this way, and then go into like why you're feeling this way while you're still keeping yourself there instead of like choosing to shift out of it, I think is a worthwhile pursuit, and it's going to lead to that increased like somatic body and that increased ability to be someone who is safe for any type of partnership. And also when you have that, I think that whether it's monogamy or it's polyamory, whatever it is, it's going to not matter so much like how strict the setup is, because we recognize that we can have an idea of exactly what we want and we can choose that partner and we can be sure of it. And then with the way the world is, that can still shift. So whether it shifts or not, we still have this ability to be really solid in ourselves. And so anything that comes our way, we know that we're going to be solid in ourselves. And the partner knows that as well. So I think, yes, we may have this goal of like monogamous relationship or polyamorous relationship and like stick to that if it's what you know is healthy for you and in alignment with you. Like don't go against your boundaries. But also I think it's always important to know that like regardless of what happens, like I'm good in myself. You know, I'm on this like human journey to experience these things, but these things are not defining me in any way. They don't dictate my happiness.
Should we go a little deeper with our audience and be a little more vulnerable about why we even started this conversation?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So we went to a meditation last night. Every Thursday in Miami, Will holds a beautiful sacred meditation. It's so funny that it moves like this. And it was really powerful. And Jordan actually got to share, and it really resonated with me what she shared.
Right.
So I wanted you to share.
Yeah.
Share.
Yeah, thank you for that invitation. So I'm usually a very, oh, hi camera.
I know, sometimes it doesn't listen.
I'm usually a very chill person, like pretty happy and calm. But I was having these huge waves of anger and sitting on the beach with my beautiful community doing a meditation. I was having violent images come through my head. Like I was so angry. And it's not something that I usually experience. And I really always intend to not act from a place of anger. So usually my ideal would be to do some martial arts, to do some blacksmithing, to get to like channel that rage into training, into crafting, into something like productive and beautiful. But here I was in a meditation like not thrashing around, not feeling like it was appropriate to yell, just having all these like violent images. And I was struggling with it because I was like, this violence, is it a reflection of like me hurting myself? Like, I don't actually really feel comfortable with these like violent expressions. And I talked to a friend afterwards, and she was saying that it's actually healthy, like it's actually healing, because what's coming up there is a part of my psyche that wants to protect myself from experiencing what I had experienced, which was related to betrayal trauma from cheating, which I think is one of the greatest pains that unfortunately a lot of us get to experience and get to waver through and yeah, toddle through in this lifetime.
Second that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really difficult. And yeah, I've experienced an insane amount of betrayal trauma, and I'm actually really grateful for it because with it being something that is exactly distracted by the mosquitoes again, we're in Miami. Um, Betrayal is something that a lot of people experience. And so I'm grateful to have been absolutely overtaken by a huge wave of betrayal from like every single direction, so that I can go through this grand alchemical process of learning what can we do with betrayal. And also it brings up the questions of like the people who betray you, like what do you do with them? Like you feel so much love for them, and it's like,
And the question, is monogamy dead?
right. Is it dead?
Is it dead?
Yeah. I I hear from a lot of men specifically that they feel like it is. And I hear more from women saying that they just want to find that man who wants to have a monogamous container. Has that been your experience as well?
No, the opposite.
No, really? Oh wow.
All my friends who are like my closest friends who tell me their deepest secrets, the ones that I'm saying that are married with kids, are saying like the opposite, that they want to open their relationship and they've asked their husband and the husbands are like, no, like I'm not cool with that. But interestingly enough, when they do have these conversations with their husbands, when they're able to communicate their fantasies, or like some of them actually ride through the wave of like quote unquote cheating and betrayal, because they're able to express themselves and they're able to say what they desire, and just having their husband or their partner hold space for them, even if like there is a lot of discomfort, they don't need to go out and cheat.
Yes, that's exactly what I was saying. Fantastic.
Cool. I'm saying it in a
right. And then so I imagine in the relationships where the people don't feel safe expressing that, whether it's because their partner actually they know would not hold a safe container and not be accepting and would maybe throw a fit or become angry and shame them, whatever. Or whether it's because that person is just so scared of losing someone. Maybe they have anxious attachment. Maybe they have like people pleasing tendencies, whichever one it is.
I resonate with both of those, and I've been healing both of those a lot.
Yeah. And so like when either of those are present, then I imagine that's when the cheating actually gets to the stage where it goes and it is played out.
Because they don't feel like there's a safe container to express their desires.
Right. And also when we can bring safety and awareness, love and compassion to any feeling and any thought, it's brought to the light and it dissipates. It's when it can't find the light that it's still will come about,
Yeah.
but it will come about in a less integrous way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with like when we have desires and we have like pervasive thoughts that keep coming up, if we just try to squash them, if we try to hide them, they're still going to come up, you know? So it's a practice of bringing loving awareness to everything and to everyone, saying like there's a place for you here, I see you, I hear you. And then past that, I see you, I hear you, I love you, I can learn from you. I also have my own boundaries, and I also am going to choose to not go there.
So instead of allowing the mammal mind, like we're mammals, right? Like we want to have sex and like pleasure, like that's so part of who we are, and that's so part of the limbic brain. Being able to like take a what do you call it when you like control a whole like
a lasso,
like spank that,
a whip.
Yeah, whip that mind and like be like, I'm in control, like controlling that mammal mind of that wants to procreate and have fun with everyone.
Yeah, my personal feeling is that it's so attractive to me when men are sexually disciplined, you know, and they don't have leaky sexual energy. And I feel that way because I understand that men have testosterone pumping through their bodies. So their desire to have sex in general is just so much greater than what assigned females at birth might be experiencing. And I think that it shows maturity when men have control over their sexuality because it is showing me that they can have these urges that I would say are a part of the like reptilian brain, which is like the brain that was developed before we as humans enlarged our prefrontal cortexes and all the different areas of the brain that make us more I guess you would say conscious than other animals. I don't want to like put humans above other animals, but it's allowed us to have thoughts and all this complexity that is a part of the human experience. So when any type of like hunger, sex, emotions, like any of that arises, we can sit with it, we can acknowledge it, and we can lovingly not act on it, you know? And I'm not talking about suppressing it. I'm just talking about witnessing it and then waiting for that wave to pass. And maybe you need to actually move the energy in some way. Maybe it's not just waiting. Maybe it's moving the energy through your body. And then on the other side of it, we as humans will always go back to that prefrontal cortex area where we can reference what are our values, what are our commitments, what does integrity mean to me, and we can logically make decisions. So if I see a man who is just like sleeping around and just letting, you know,
I don't find that attractive.
Testosterone lead the way. It's like I don't feel like I can have safety with that person and trust in their leadership because I know that they're acting from a reptilian mind. They're not acting from their full power, like their full power, like developed prefrontal cortex. Yeah.
Woo! That was good. So much juiciness.
Yeah.
What are would you say some of your practices that you have been able to develop to get you to where you are, to move through the emotions, to move through the desires?
I think the biggest thing is just awareness practices. So we all have the ability to, in a meditation, Yeah. So yeah,
Simplify the word awareness.
meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation is the main thing. So in a meditation,
Mhm.
you can move your awareness around.
Mhm.
So I can bring my awareness to right above my head. I can bring my awareness to the walls around me. I can bring my awareness out of there. I can bring my awareness into my body, and I can take my awareness to wherever is feeling tense in my body.
Mhm.
And I think that whenever I experience an emotion that is unpleasant, that's the first thing that I want to do. So I've developed a practice of going to where that emotion is in my body, because every emotion is a physiological pattern that runs through your body that we've given the label of whatever emotion. So I go to that, I address the physical sensation, and that's what I'm doing when I'm experiencing an unpleasant emotion, rather than acting. Because when I'm acting, I'm escaping the emotion. So it's like you can imagine this bell curve, right? And as an emotion is rising,
Yeah.
there's imagine like a really, really unpleasant emotion. Like you're about to like lose your shit because someone just did the most irritating, horrendous thing you can think of to you, right? So there's this roller coaster you're about to go on, and it's going up, 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 and like most people jump off the ride before it gets to the top.
Yeah.
And ways to jump off the ride would be going into your typical survival pattern. And that's the fight, flight, freeze, whatever that I mentioned. I personally subscribe more to the 5 personality patterns. So it's like,
I like that one.
if I'm of the lever pattern, then as I'm experiencing this well, actually, let's talk about the aggressive pattern.
Oh,
right?
okay.
That one's just more fun for me. So the aggressive pattern, when you're in pattern, you're yelling at people, you're shouting, right? The lever pattern would be you dissociate or you exit.
Silence. That I resonate with that one. Like
The silent defiant one.
well, if the aggressive pattern usually attracts the lever, so like if the aggressive is shouting, then
The lever dissociates.
yeah, and just stays quiet and kind of like doesn't know what to say back because it's like shocked.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been in that dynamic.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so we're on an emotional roller coaster. We're going up, and then as it's going up, one way to jump off the ride, release this energy, is to go into your pattern. So it's to like yell, to scream, and then that takes us a different direction. However, if we would just hold on instead of going into our pattern, if we were to hold on, and one way to help us hold on is to first have the awareness of this is an emotional rise, and then choose to have things that you want to reference. So you can reference a friend's nervous system who you know helps you to feel really safe and comfortable. So you can like in your mind go to the web of people that you love, and you can reference something like that, or you could reference the network of mycelium under the ground. You can reference the tree over there. It's just something to keep you grounded, whatever like holds you grounded. Take that with you on the ride. So you're going up, you're feeling somewhat grounded, even though this is super overwhelming, and you just stick with it. It gets to an emotional peak that feels like shit, which is why we try to get out of it. But after you experience that peak, it starts going down, you know?
Can I add?
Yeah.
For me, you were saying reference your web or mycelium. For me, it's like feeling my body. So like feeling the breath in the belly, feeling the intent. Sometimes if the emotion is intense, it usually feels like pain right here, like right here. So like actually feeling the physical pain that this emotion is creating and staying with it. and like breathing into it, right? Like, and keep breathing into it until slowly, like you said, when you start to come down, you notice that the pain starts to kind of leave.
Yeah.
So you rode the wave and the pain was really intense, as if someone literally punched you, but then it's like if you breathe and stay in the body.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times it is heart space. It can be like other places, but when I'm doing this practice, will often be like tapping on my heart. But you can do that anywhere on the body. You can hold yourself, like whatever helps you to just like feel grounded. But it can be really difficult when you have a lifelong pattern of acting a certain way when certain emotions arise to shift. So it's just starting with like having the awareness and practicing not acting as you typically do. Practice doing what we're talking about, or just like anything else that really works for you, and understanding that it takes time to shift out of old patterns. So it's okay as long as you're trying to show up in this way that is healthier, that is like not aggressing other people and is not you silencing yourself or withholding your truth. And yeah, the more we can do that, the more we can have a larger somatic body, as in like provide more safety, emanate more safety. And then I think relationships will be healing for other people. If we can be that, and if we can all practice that, then we spread those practices in our relationships. Yeah.
So a powerful thing I recently experienced in a relationship where whoever you're feeling these feelings towards, if they can actually hold a space for you, like you're saying, like if you're able to say, oh, I'm feeling jealousy, I'm feeling anger, and your counterpart, you could be like, well, go deeper into it, like feel the pain even more, like I'll hold you here, I'll hold you in this space, like cry, like let it all out. So that's a really nice way to practice if you're currently in an intimate relationship and you're experiencing these feelings. If you need that kind of support, even if your partner doesn't know how to put it in words, like asking him, like, hey, like I'm feeling all these feelings of jealousy, of discomfort, because maybe, you said something or did something, like I need you to hold me right now, and I want to feel them, and I want to feel safe in your arms, like literally, like it's as simple as that. It's like so magical and so transformative.
Yeah, it's co-regulation. So it's like the partner with a regulated nervous system is right there next to you. Maybe they're even holding you, so their nervous system is right up against yours. You can also do this over the phone, though. You can ask someone to just for 5 minutes hold loving compassion for you as you go through whatever internal experience you're going through.
I love that.
Yeah, so much more fun in person, but you know, it works both ways. So you have this safe nervous system that your body can reference as it goes through this big wave that it gets to go through.
And a lot of the time, the partner that you're with, it's not even like their fault that you're experiencing these feelings, because we have like all this baggage and all this shit from the past, like all this trauma from our past relationships. And you might have just like met this person, I'm speaking for personal experience, and you think you're feeling all these feelings because of them, but really it's like also from the past. So if they can hold space for you, you're not only like healing this momentary feeling, but it's like healing the past and like re-regulating your nervous system when it comes to relationships, when it comes to love, when it comes to opening up and surrendering to feeling more. At the end of the day, like if you allow yourself to feel more pain and allow to go deeper into it, you're going to feel more pleasure. Like it's so intense. So if you're like pushing down the pain, then you're really also pushing down the pleasure. That just blows my mind. Like,
why do you think that that is?
I mean, the pendulum swing probably, like, and the roller coaster, like if you're going high on a ride, then you crash, but then you go high again. I don't know. Like I think it's like I like that what you were using, the capacity to hold. What was that word that you?
I was saying somatic body.
Yeah, something like that. Like the capacity to feel to a greater extent, like as if like the waves, the energy field around you can expand. If you can feel more pain, you can feel more pleasure because the energy is expanded. Like,
right. And it's like it's getting comfortable with emotions flowing through your body. It's welcoming emotions to flow through your body. So sometimes the emotions that show up are going to be lower vibrational, sometimes they're going to be higher vibrational. We don't really get to choose what emotions come. We just get to choose what we do with them and the actions that we take. So I imagine if you are trying to block yourself from feeling negative emotions, you're creating all these blockages in your body. Emotions don't flow through you as easily, whether they're the high vibrational ones or the lower vibrational ones. Right. And I feel that it's so beautiful to go through these experiences where maybe someone has deeply betrayed us or whatever it is, maybe someone died and it's like really heavy and it's really dark. It's so amazing to feel safe enough with yourself, whether there's someone else there or not supporting you, to go deep down into the pain of it and just keep going like deeper with it. Because my experience of that is what I find is the thoughts that come up are little subconscious thoughts that I've heard before and I've not acknowledged. And they're in my subconscious torturing me, you know? And it's these beautiful moments of me giving myself permission to really go deep into pain that I get to unearth what are these really harmful thoughts that create constriction in my body that like are the source of pain that I experience when people betray me or whatever. It's like when people betray you, when something happens, it doesn't need to really negatively affect us because it's not about us. It doesn't say anything about us, whatever. So if it's really hurting, I feel that there's something there that it's hitting on that is for us and is about us and that we get to unlock and uncover. So as I go deeper into the pain, a thought might come up like, I was never worthy of this, you know? And it's like, oh, I didn't know that I thought that. I had no idea. But now it's here. And for each of those thoughts, I get to say, well, is this true? You know, is this really true? And I get to just unearth it and then go deeper into the pain. And sometimes I find that it's hard to facilitate that experience with myself unless something traumatic has happened that brings me into like that gripping, like dark, like, you know, pain tunnel. Yeah. But like as you're going through that like pain tunnel, it's like you're removing blockages in the form of these thoughts that have like an imprint in your body that have an effect on how you're showing up in the world and showing up in your relationships.
I want to add to the topic we're covering about emotions. When you're able to hold the capacity of your emotions, then I want to take this out of the relationship context for a moment and bring it to your parents. Like we
So
all,
related to relationships.
yeah, we're all getting triggered by our parents. And like sometimes you like are like, what's going on? Their emotions are so strong. But if you have the capacity to hold the emotion, then you don't have to take on their emotions as strongly as you think you're supposed to. I don't know. I just thought I really wanted to add that point because I recently had this conversation with someone. And it's just like you said, like if we're aware of what's triggering us, of what's hurting us, and we're doing the daily work and meditating every day, for example, and breathing every day, then do we really have to give someone the power when they're having their little boy or little girl outburst at us, even though it might not be at us, it's directed at us. Can we hold the space and the container for them to feel what they need to feel and not take it in so deeply that it affects us and turmoils us? And a practice I'd like to share, if you are getting yelled at, for example, your animal body is like freaking out inside. So it's important if something happens like that to shake afterwards, like literally like shake it out. Like if someone raised their voice or if you were just like in a near car accident, like get out and like you see animals after they fight,
Right.
like they just shake it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think something that's really helpful to think about in those moments is that the person in front of you, if they're throwing a fit, they're throwing a tantrum,
Yeah.
they are reverting to a child version of themselves. The adult version of them is no longer in the room. They're not in their prefrontal cortex, they're in their amygdala. Their emotional center of the brain is running the show. So you can lovingly look at them as if they are a child in that moment. And I think intuitively, maybe that's easier for us to know what to do with. Because with a child, you're not going to like scream at them back.
Yeah.
But for some reason, if it's an adult, we might feel like more entitled to be respected. And so, like, if they're disrespecting us, we're going to use that as an excuse to disrespect them. But imagine in those moments where someone's yelling at you, they're a child. Like, what would you do for a child in that situation?
Well, I learned that it's good to mirror emotions because then their emotional body feels safe. So yelling something like, I love you
I love that.
back to like meet them at the level of like the 10, but then like bring it down like real. Yeah.
It's right. It's like it's like getting on board with them and then helping them to steer the ship.
Yeah.
Right. So if the energy is really high, I really like the idea also of just like shaking, right? And doing that with them, being like, the energy is so high right now. Let's go for a run. And like run out the door. If they want to keep screaming at you, they're gonna run with you. You know?
I love
and
that.
Just like, yeah, transmute it on the spot. But also know that in relationships, it's so important for our nervous system to stay regulated. Because if someone is extremely dysregulated and we get to a point of also being dysregulated, game over. You know, it's creating trauma. So if you are finding yourself in a position where someone is clearly dysregulated, I think the number one thing to do, which this is something that I have not done in the past, and so I'm speaking from experience, is to check in consistently with how is my nervous system doing? Am I close to my limit? Do I have more room? Like, where is my threshold? Be very aware of where that threshold point is and not get too close to it because I don't want to switch over into being dysregulated as well. So if I have the room for it, I'm not too close to that threshold, then I would do the things we're talking about where I like try to transmute the energy lovingly. And if I'm close to my threshold, then I need to politely say, I don't have capacity for this right now. I'll talk to you in 30 minutes and dip out, go self-regulate.
Mhm.
That's a perfectly loving thing to do, you know, because then also that person might actually benefit from your example and say, oh, yeah, I am I am being a lot. Maybe I need to take 30 minutes to self-regulate. It's hard to talk about just like these constructs of like monogamy versus non-monogamy and all of that because I really truly feel what's most important is like the experience you're having with yourself and then from there you know what's in integrity with yourself, which I imagine for most people in relationships the important things are again honesty, transparency, and safety.
And I want to add to that, my sister, shout out to Dasha Love. When you do meet someone that you do like communicating right away, like, hey, like I really want to have a committed partnership and have like kids in the next like 2 to 4 years. And then like you said it right up front. And then I guess like we have a choice to have them meet us or tell them or have them say like that's not what I'm interested in right now, but like let's enjoy each other. But at least I feel like if you're communicating that right from the front and allowing them to communicate what it is that they want from right up front is also like very important because now you know that they want that or they don't want that. So you can choose to, have fun or to say, well, no, thank you. Let's not exchange this like really powerful sexual energy and move on. Obviously, that's really hard. I'm still like learning how to do that because I want to enjoy life and want to enjoy this experience. But I am also practicing the communication of like my desires out into the universe and ultimately attracting that king that I do desire, that divine partnership.
I think that's a really great practice because it's setting the tone of transparency, of honesty, of bravery, of self-integrity, of boundaries right from the start. And how relationships start, like the first couple of months really lays the foundation of how the interactions will go for the entire relationship.
Wow.
So I think
that's so true.
Yeah, it's really important to start off on a good note, to be from the beginning really honoring yourself and the person in front of you. And I think being clear about what you want is a good way to do that. And when I think about compatibility, the relationship dynamic that we desire being different from someone else's is a huge lack of compatibility. So even if there's like strong chemistry and all of that, it's still an incompatible relationship. Like the entire time, you guys will be going back and forth. Maybe someone will compromise. Maybe it'll turn out well. But you could opt for not putting yourself through that dance of hoping the compatibility will shift and instead be like, okay, that person doesn't want what I want. Let me keep going with my own life and keep being upfront about what I want. And I'll probably find someone who wants what I want, who I also feel really attracted to. And something that I've learned is that someone who you feel really strongly for isn't always necessarily the person that you want to spend all of your time with and invest your whole life into. Because when we feel those really strong emotions, especially in our society today where there has been so much global trauma.
Yeah. I heard it's trauma bonding.
Exactly. So it's like that intense like fire, that intense draw to them. It's like, what is it? I'm just so attracted to them. A lot of times what that
Trauma
is
bonding.
anxiety.
Ah, fuck.
Because it's the anxiety of, wow, like I don't feel like fully safe with this person. And there's like something unknown. And it's also feeling maybe familiar,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
we've had trauma in our life that we haven't
Childhood. Yeah.
been able to heal from. Most people have trauma that is just from being a child and
The attachment styles. Yeah.
yeah, the attachment styles we go through and trauma. When I say trauma, I don't mean um, anything other than an experience that was overwhelming to our systems. And when we're children, a lot of experiences are overwhelming to our systems.
And we don't know the difference between love and safety. And we think if our parents like abandoned us, for example, or something like that, that is love, and that's how love is supposed to show up in our life.
Right. Right. And so anytime you have this experience of overwhelm, the system goes into those patterns that we spoke about. And it also, in our psyche, will encode that experience. And so there'll be a part of our psyche that is trying to prevent us from having that negative experience. But I think with humans, there's also a desire to heal and a desire to evolve. So it's like we will put ourselves in similar situations to try to heal that. But if you're unconscious of how we choose partners that we're going to play out unhealed dynamics with, then you're doing that without actually finding those like bits of like, oh, so this is what the edge is, and this is where the healing is, and this is how I can go into it. And I'm going to choose to go into it and have that healing with this person. We don't have to choose relationships where they feel super intense. But for some people, that's really appealing. You know, they want to go there. But just know that, like, with that intensity, with that level of intensity, a lot of the intensity is because this person is familiar to you. You're drawn to, all humans are drawn to familiarity, right? They're representing unhealed trauma from your past. So we can see people who we have that like instant chemical connection with, and we can choose to go into a relationship that if we don't have all of the skills, will likely be a trauma bond and potentially create more trauma. Or we can go into it knowing like, hey, I think I have all the skills, like let me just go at it. But yeah, totally. I think if you're going to do that, you want to vet the person for, okay, we have this strong connection, but like how good is your communication? And do we want the same things out of life? Are we compatible in these ways? And yeah, maybe maybe just be careful. Be careful there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love playing with fire though.
Right. So there's two types of relationships. There's either way you learn. There's the one where your partner is very gently helping you evolve and holding a soft mirror to you.
Yes.
And over time, you're evolving and it's beautiful. And then there's the other relationship path where they're slamming the mirror into your face and it's chaos and it's intense. And then typically it ends
faster.
And then you learn, potentially not faster. Maybe it ends and it starts again, and then it ends and then it starts again.
Are you speaking from experience?
I am speaking from experience, yes. Experience, but also research and schooling and all that. So in those relationships where there's high intensity, you still learn, but a lot of the lessons look like you digesting what the fuck did I just go through for months afterwards. And so there's different styles.
Yeah.
Like I resonate with you where I'm like, I want to go through the fire and then I'm a phoenix and I'll just alchemize it afterwards and come out better than ever. But also that path of like gentle guidance and gentle evolution
Mhm.
that doesn't create trauma
Mhm.
is also a beautiful path.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think we've been going for an hour-ish more. Feel free to share with us what you think and how you're experiencing your love and your relationships and where you're at. And we welcome feedback and comments and questions.
Yeah. What is the way? We don't know. It's on an individual basis, and we really would love to hear
It
like
really likes you.
everyone's ideas. The camera just keeps going back to me.
And is monogamy dead? What do you think? Yes or no? Feel good? Feel complete?
I feel complete. Thank you for asking. You feel complete?
Yeah. Thank you.